Ever data trip? There's stuff called tap that only gets you high in virtual worlds. I just snorted a big line of it before slipping a sensory crown over my head. I lean back in a chair while the crown's headgear syncs with my neural implants. I feel the familiar tingle in my temples and warm buzz in my eyes as they lose focus. My apartment drops out. I eject out of reality and into the online world of Inside. The start screen is usually set on a scenic mountaintop, but right now everything looks like melting candles. Dee Dee, the androgynous AI guide of Inside, walks out of the holographic gates to greet me. "Hello, Yosie. Welcome back inside," Dee Dee says, docile and mellow. "Goodbye, Yosie," I say to myself while shattering into a trillion tiny cubes. The tap soaks through my brain and my memories are wiped like corrupt files. My ego dissolves. My soul converts into RAM. I am pure information streaming amok in the simulation. No longer conscious, I'm numbers turning into numbers that no one is counting. I've been able to live out every fantasy I've ever wanted inside, but nothing compares to the feeling of disintegrating into code. Sucky part is, it only lasts 10 minutes. I pull the crown off my head. Van is still sleeping. He rouses under my blanket, stretching the covers out like a butterfly pushing against the cocoon. He can go pretty late into the night with me, but once he crashes, it's lights out. I look at all the portraits he's drawn of me, and they look like photos. He loves sketching my profile because he says I have a warrior's nose. I always hated it before I met him. We've been holed up in my apartment for the last few days while the storm passed. It's finally stopped raining, and my windows are frozen from the nitrogen in the downpour. My focus shifts from the noxious morning dew to the sights of the city. Miami, 124 years after the Great Leak. The city's made of plastic, and it's not just the people I'm talking about. You see that elevated island over the city? That's the platform. High-end luxury living constructed entirely out of recycled ocean waste. Out of all the skyscrapers, that domed one is my favorite. Most people go for the curved one because it's the tallest and most expensive. Not me. I have a better eye for design. But who am I fooling? It's not like I'll ever be able to afford platform life. Chemical sunburns and contaminated sands are a daily part of being fifth-generation Lower Beach. I swallow 200 milligrams of resveratrol for my lungs and 500 milligrams of glychroma to keep the fluid in my ears from leaking. It can't go down on an empty stomach, so I eat a yellow isogel pack, sausage biscuit flavored. I seal up into my bioskin, gather supplies, and get out the door, all without waking Van. The only other ones out this early are Dynasty Co. trucks delivering synthetic foods to the grocers. Haze stuffs the streets. Deep sea storms like last night's cause underwater particulates to churn up into the atmosphere. Add that with deadly summer humidity and it all turns into septic steam. It's so bad out right now that I keep my respirator mask on during the drive. Even under these 1600 grade goggles, my eyes still itch. Back in 2178, extreme heat triggered earthquakes across the planet. This unforeseen tectonic shift caused a string of underwater volcanoes to erupt and dump millions of gallons of nitrogen into the ocean. In chain reaction, secret nuclear waste dumps throughout the Arctic and Pacific were cracked open while every pipeline in the Atlantic hemorrhaged oil. It was all too lethal a combination for the sea to recover. Ecosystems were annihilated and all ocean life went extinct by 2200. The food chain collapsed, economies crumbled, cities fell, 4 billion people died. The rest fled the coasts, if they could make it. Scientists named this global catastrophe the Great Leak. Nothing has grown back since. I head northeast to my brother Howell's compound in Delray. It used to be all wetlands a century ago, but now it's nothing but methane-soaked soil and abandoned retirement communities. No one comes out here, which is why Howell likes it. I arrive at the series of aluminum cabanas and enter through the decontamination capsule at his main cabin. I slip out of my bioskin and enter through the airlock into the kitchen. His cat, Mo, is right there as I walk in, curling its back and hissing at me just like it always does. "Don't let the cat out," Howell shouts at me from the other room, just like he always does. Fabricated pets are hard to come by, so Mo is Howell's prized possession. A pile of sticks, labeled explosive, sit on his kitchen table, while pots and pans, caked in drug-cooked residues, stack the sink. The obnoxious cat hops up on the counter to lick the pans. Howell struts in sleepy from the early wake-up call. He strokes his hand across Mo's coat en route to his coffee machine. Morning sunshine, I toy with my gruff brother. While foaming up coffee, he asks, "Where are you heading out to?" "South of Bahama ruins," I say. "Old school," he replies. "Could be some good storm scrap out there after the last few days," I add. "You sound like Dad," he dismisses while arriving with a mug full of foamy coffee. He watches the cat licking the dirty pan. "Did you like this batch of tap as much as Mo does? Think it's a good idea to have dynamite so close to your stove?" I deflect. "Oh yeah," he says like it's garbage he forgot to throw away. "Can you help me with it, sis?" In one of the cabanas around his property, Hal has been stockpiling weapons for years in anticipation of a war that, according to him, is going to break out any day now. He's been saying the same thing for years, but it's never come. With hands full, he tells me the code to unlock the steel doors. We enter the Doomsday Vault, a fully functioning fallout shelter and passion project for Howell. "You've been busy stocking up," I say as I glance over the inventory. There is enough firepower here to outfit a mini militia. Everything is so nicely organized. The semi and full automatics were in their own sections, and I counted 23 different selections of blade. "It's just going to be me and Mo left," Howell says. "What about me?" I ask. As I place the dynamite next to the grenades, my eyes spot a painted tag on the wall reading, "Predator or Prey." His brand of psycho-survivalism has always creeped me out, so I really only see him under circumstances like now. Though I'm not here for more drugs or weapons, and definitely not cat-sitting. I'm here for the boat. Howell lets me dock it here on the canal behind his compound. It's a 50-foot workhorse that's an eyesore, but its guts are stacked with decafan engines and solid-state pulsar amps. Ugly, but brawny. I even have a single-rider submarine unit for the stickier recoveries. Howell has had seasickness his whole life, so I got it when Dad died. I wave Howell goodbye from the boat's cockpit and leave his dock at a low wake. Noxious gas rises out of the orange-brown water as I go. The canal is a long detour to take to the ocean, but it's the best way if I want to stay clear of checkpoints. As a junk runner, there are hundreds of construction companies that pay good money for salvage that doesn't come from state processing sites. Remember how they build skyscrapers out of ocean waste? Well, Florida taxes the builders so high, they're always looking to buy off the books. That's where I come in. But it's not like you can just bring them any old sea scrap. To score the grade A stuff, I have to go to outer zone waters, further than the autopiloted routes that industry ships use. There are tricks to keeping the contamination risks very low when you're at sea. 1, reinforce with anti-corrosives. You don't want to drown at sea because your ship was eaten up by the ocean's acid. 2, magnet-cased airlocks. I've seen my share of boats adrift with corpses in the cockpit from air leaks. 3, run your respirators on their own generator. You can buy the fanciest air systems out there, but if you aren't running it on a separate power supply, it'll suck your ship's battery power and everything will go dead, including you. Sunlight singes the carbon dioxide veil. I open throttle away from the beach condo graveyard along the shore. My navigation is set south, toward the Caribbean. I carve my boat through oily ocean. Sea spray sparkles in my wake. It's dazzling when you don't think too much about the chemicals in the water making that effect. I ride for hours while my cockpit windows stain yellow. I eat 2 packs of fruit-flavored isogels, a bag of synth jerky, and drink 8 liters of hydrofoam mixed with 750 milligrams of caffeine powder. It's around the Key West tsunami site where my sonars chatter. Nothing worth dropping the net for. This area was a jackpot during Grandpa's salvage days. A whole sunken city to mine. Vehicles were easy, metal was everywhere, and fabric was highly sought after because of the price of cotton. It was harder to score by the time Dad got into the game. He would bring me along and often get criticized for it because no one thought junk running was appropriate for little girls. But I liked it. I remember he got lucky once and towed in a huge tangle of power lines. I was 7 and thought we were going to be rich forever. Things changed after Mom died. I hate that I'm crying, so I rush through the keys as fast as I can. Two hours south of the Bahama ruins is where the plastic shows up. First in trails of toys, then in waves of bottles and rubber tires. Jackpot. I fill my nets fat, but it keeps coming, so I dump my load and refill. I do that a few times. In my wildest dreams, I thought I'd come across a floating patch or bobbing cluster of salvage out here. What I'm looking at goes for miles. Shipwrecked speedboats, steel barrels, wooden furniture, antique technology, and stuff that's so old it's beyond recognition. Whatever it is, and wherever it came from, it's worth a fortune. And all mine. I've just become a millionaire. I don't even bother filling my nets up again. I want to see how far it goes. I'm too dazzled by treasure to notice the sky. By the time I see the clouds, it's too late. Like slime globs, they bubble up the panorama in a cloak of ooze. I slam the throttle and speed away in the opposite direction. Scraps fly as I bounce through the water. The treasure I took for granted is now scarring my boat. Shade creeps overhead and winds bring waves I can't outrun. The clouds dump rain so dense, it's hard to see. The ocean gets choppy, and battle begins for command of my ship. The swell hoists and slams me over and over, each time higher up and harder down. My stomach sinks in the airtime, and I'm nearly capsized on every fall. Polluted water floods the hull, making the anti-corrosive coating sizzle. My cockpit is a concert of hazard alarms. The magnet casings on the airlocks rattle against the winds outside. The words painted in Hal's doomsday vault flash in my mind. Predator, or prey. Out of the rock and slosh of the storm, an explosion bursts from underwater. Ocean gushes high into the sky, geysering wildly from below. Trash rains down with the graphite seawater, and my boat is pelted in shrapnel. Electricity blows out in the cockpit, and the backup generators activate. Impossible to steer against the roller coaster currents. I can only brace myself at the crest and hold on for life in the troughs. If there is any chance for me, I have to get to my submarine. I contaminate the cockpit as I rush out. The ship's a goner anyway. Now it's a dance against wind and flood to get to the submarine bay. I lock into the one-passenger vessel and blow a stick of retardant dust to sanitize what I can. I race through the onboard commands of the sub as my boat is cradled by a tidal wave. Riding up the liquid wall, my boat reaches insurmountable heights at the colossal wave's crest. I disengage the sub and drop as the boat flips over, and the wave collapses behind me. Damn. Why didn't I just turn around when my net was full? I plunge undertow into chaos. It's nothing but a wash of dirty bubbles and microplastics out of my glass. All sense of up or down is lost. I get so dizzy from the spin that I'm with Van. We're standing on our balcony, looking out from the platform. I can't see the ground, but I look out at the horizon. What do you see? He asks. The sky is a spray painting. I wake up in the submarine, soaked in sweat. Outside my glass is more of a dream than what I just woke from. How did it get so crystal clear? Why does it feel so different? Why is it not a shoving match to navigate? No plastic, no pollution, no chemicals. Is this water? Something moves out there. I focus my eyes but can't make out form, only the liquid contortions while it pushes through the water. The motion reminds me of the blanket stretching against Van's body. I flip my lanterns on. This sub may be junk, but it has a heavy-duty light rig. You need a lot of power to see through the muck when you go in the ocean, usually. In waters this pure, I am a blazing star. I see it only for a brief moment as my light scares it away. Its tail flips in a perfect stride as it swims. As it swims? Either I'm passed out in a tap hole or I'm looking at a real-life fish. I trail the creature deeper and find my sub scraping against stalactites. It's a cave I'm twirling down, with limestone walls so white I have a fit of blindness when my lights hit them. I thread my sub further, chasing after this miracle while concentrating my breathing so I don't suck up all the oxygen from excitement. I always believed I was living at the end of history. As I pop out the other side of the cave, I see a bright future I could never have imagined before. An entire ocean of clear water sealed off in secrecy from the rest of the world. A forest of tall, leafy plants sway in the current, somehow growing without sunlight. As I pass through, I see it's not plant life, but some type of fungal vegetation that breaks apart against my sub, dissolving into a cloud of nutrient flakes. I marvel over the tiny fish that arrive to eat the flakes and discover their reef growing from incredibly sized quartz rocks. In school, they used to show us what the seas looked like before the Great Leak. But that old footage does no justice to what I see right now. The most vivid colors are on spectacle in this unbelievable ecosystem, and it teems with life. Countless species swim everywhere, moving in swaths and shoals in perfect synchronicity with each other. Some small, some sleek, some with winding tentacles, others with fan tails. Scales glimmer all around in metallic pinks, purples, oranges, and golds. It's raw, and it's oh so beautiful. The clear water only accentuates the vibrance. I dim my lights so I could get close without scaring any away. Somehow, the door to an underwater doomsday vault has been unlocked, and I am a guest. A hulk rises from the murk, a jumbo fish with albino skin and fins like a floppy, oversized coat. It resembles spoiled royalty from fairy tales, touring its kingdom lazily as if it had all the time in the world. I draw in for a closer look and see it's nearly the size of my sub. In its wide eyes, I see no royalty. I see blank stupidity. Mouth gaped, dopey. The albino's nothing but a mindless, bloated ogre. How could something be so fat and useless? I crank my lights to scare it away. It only moseys, slower than it came. Looking at this thing's pointless existence, I come to understand exactly what this secret ocean is. A world without predators. But now, I'm here. I wake up on a couch in Howell's cabin. A migraine from the airlock bangs at my skull and my back aches from sitting in the submarine so long. I need another week's sleep. I try drifting back, but my stomach rumbles too hard. I suddenly notice how much drool has soaked the cushion I've been sleeping on. Never so hungry in my life, I stumble to the bathroom where they lay cool under a pile of frozen synth beef packs. 6 of them. A measly score, but the best I could do with only the mechanical net on my submarine. Each about 5 feet, stout, oval-shaped, with pointy forked fins. I sink my teeth into one's fatty silver skin. The way the chewy chunk mashes in my teeth makes my eyes roll, and its strong iron flavor sends electricity through my veins. The taste makes me never want to stop, and I turn more vicious with every bite. With my teeth buried in its belly and its blood trailing down my arms, I lose myself to a hunger I never knew existed. Once there's nothing but bones, I collapse. The high makes tap seem like a lollipop. Ecstasy washes over my body. My toes curl. As the bliss hits crescendo, pleasure transforms into sharp, sharp pain. I cramp up and my stomach twists tight. My body can't handle it. I stagger to the toilet and vomit. Howell is in the kitchen making coffee when I stumble back. Couldn't wait for breakfast, he asks. How long did I sleep, I wonder, while picking scales out of my teeth? 2 days, he answers. I once slept for 9. Of course, he can't help but make it about himself. That's called a coma, I tell him. Hal was freaked out when I returned from my salvage expedition by submarine and not boat. Deathly dehydrated from 52 hours in the submarine, all I could think about was drinking a barrel of hydrofoam. When he saw the fish I caught, his first reaction was to cry. My hard-as-nails brother, whose best friends are bad guys and has been dead inside since he left the womb, was weeping uncontrollably. There's no such thing as a secret ocean. These are just really good synths, right? Even with the things laid out in front of him, Hal couldn't comprehend the truth. Right? He whimpers. It took time and a lot of repeating myself to recount what I went through. He listened in a daze, mind blown by it all. But it's when I said, "And I know how to get back inside," that Hal's eyes went from tearing to scheming. I knew there was the possibility I'd never find a way back to the surface. I could be a dead body drifting in an oxygenless submarine right now. But I found a way out. From the quartz reef, I reversed through the stalactite cave where I'd followed that first fish. I got back to where I'd first regained consciousness and continued upward. Eventually, I pierced into a membrane of boiling water. Steam was venting from the crust and the heat was acting like a gate to keep the bad water out. I raised up a scalding bath of bubbles for miles until I came up through a trench left by the geyser in the seafloor. All the plastic let me know I was home. That's why you woke up sweaty. You were passed out the first time you went through the boil. Hal had been following after all. This was in outer zone waters. That geyser blew in the middle of nowhere. I emphasized the odds. I'm the only one that knows the trench is even there. You have coordinates, he said, not like a question, but a statement. I was singing them to myself in the submarine the whole way back. Today, after much-needed sleep, and now clean from a foam scrub, I sit with Hal in the living room. Cradled in his lap, Mo hisses at me as if I'm overstaying my welcome. I ignore it, focused with Hal on the challenge at hand. How to sell something so fantastically unheard of like real fish. Even though Hal has all the underground connections, this isn't a typical street deal. Sure, my scrap buyers would bite, but they're too small of game. Corporations like Dynasty Co. would push us out, and the government would seize the waters. Black market was the only place for us to go. We're going to need freezers, big walk-in ones for storage, trucks to haul it, Hal riffs while stroking Mo. Don't forget a whole new boat, I remind him. Something dawns on Hal. He hardens. Yosie, there are crazy people where we have to go. Understand? This is going to be risky. The certainty in his words scares me. But this is my one shot out of the lower beach and into a better life. How can I not take it? In spite of the prey mentality quivering in my gut, I look square into Hal's eyes and say, forget skyscrapers, cars, or jewelry. Nothing's more luxurious in this world than eating real-life fish. So let's eat some. It's tender, but much harder to cut than synth. There's more resistance here. Its taste is more dense, and it doesn't melt quickly in my mouth the way the fake stuff does. My stomach is better at keeping it down now. The high is so bright, my insides are lit up in 1,000,000 watts. Any cravings for street drugs are now squashed. Hal, on the other hand, is keeled over the sink vomiting. But like a pro, doesn't stop plotting. That new boat needs a submarine, right? Sure does. I leave a few fish with him and head back home. During the drive, I think of the albino, hidden far away and swimming without course. It may as well have not even existed until we met eye to eye. But now, with my discovery of the secret ocean, the albino's life gained meaning. No longer a pointless existence, it was now a prize to gift the world. And no one would have it before me. It's late by the time I make it to the lower beach. The aerosols make it hard to see outside. In my apartment, I inject myself with 1,000 cc's of genolacin to flush the sulfur from my kidneys. The shot usually wipes me out, but right now I'm all jittery. I try to lay down and relax, but when I close my eyes, I feel like I'm about to burst. The walls close in, confining me inside this tiny cage of an apartment. I have to escape. I step out into the streets and immediately halt with a horrible sting in my eyes. I can't believe it. In my rush, I completely forgot to put on my bioskin. People stare at me through their goggles, wide-eyed, like I'm a freak. I shove my way through the crowd and back into my building, spitting to get the acid taste out of my mouth. Inside my decontamination capsule, I curse myself for being so absent-minded. Sunrise makes the particulates in the air look like purple snowfall. I look out my window at the neighborhood and get sick at the sight of everyone. Like insects, they crawl over each other just to get ahead. Even from my 6th-story view, I feel the aggression steaming up from their bodies. I stare off to the platform, practically breathing in the clean air they pump through the buildings. The purified steam shower I'm going to install in my bathroom is going to be so relaxing. As I daydream about my penthouse, the platform changes before my eyes. I no longer see towering pinnacles of opulence, but heaps of garbage piled high into the smog. The slick sculpture was just a mirage, a way for the rich to trick themselves from seeing the wasteland. All this time, I had been fantasizing about the good life in the platform. But the reality is, we are all living in the same exact trash. Their heaps were just shinier on the outside. I fillet the other fish and stack the freezer with meat so it won't spoil. Now, a butchered pile of guts and bones are on my bathroom floor, and there's a stench so bad that I have to run my air filters on hazard mode. The sanitation department sorts through all our trash, so I have to take the bones somewhere. I remember to suit up in my bioskin before heading out this time. The lower beach comes alive at night because the sun is too strong in the day. The shops do most of their business at this time, so there's a lot of traffic out. I head to Eastern Shores, to an unmarked cemetery that I know of, where the homeless lay their dead. I think about my dad while I'm burying the fish bones. As he was dying of G49 disorder, he refused treatment. He wouldn't even live in the sick houses where care is free. I'll never forget him saying, "This life is more terrifying than death." He was so calm about it. Tonight, while digging a sandy grave, I think about how badly I want to live. I go home and feast on fish, stuffing myself with their succulent oils and rich fat. My tongue throbs off the taste, and I'm engorged into a sweat. All of a sudden, I flare up with desire. I reach my hands down and feel myself soaking wet. The fish acting like an aphrodisiac. I'm all hot and bothered now. I need Van. He meets me at a club in the Biscayne district. His frisky grin tells me we're gonna have fun tonight. Bankers bore me, and thugs remind me of my brother. I order a bottle of vodka gels. High roller. Cash out big on your salvage run, Van enthuses. Picked up a cargo freighter full of odd inventory. It's the first time I've ever lied to him. In the crowd, I see two men with unbelievably white skin. So stark, so pristine, they overexpose under the bar lights. That's not makeup, Van smirks. He tells me albinism is the latest trend in Miami, and people are paying a lot of money for treatments that bleach the melanin out of the skin. Pure white. It's a backlash against the sun. They even figured out how to strip the hair, so it was platinum. The one with the long locks looks like an angel from heaven. Platformers slumming it downtown, Van says dismissively. Just ignore them, Yosie. Van shoves his tongue into my mouth and surprises me with a deep kiss. His wet tongue wags my mouth. I taste plastic. Surprisingly, it's him who pulls back. He asks, "What is that taste in your mouth?" "It's like plastic from the vodka gel casings, right?" "No," he says. "Salt?" Even then, he isn't sure. "Tastes like weird salt." He licks his lips and says, "I like it." The moment makes me remember something. I involuntarily blurted out, "I forgot to inject my shots." Side-eyed, Van asks, "Which ones?" "Blood BPA metabolizers," I loosely recall. "Those are programmed doses, Yosie. You need those," he worries. I inhale and think about it. No, I feel great, actually. Van drags me away to the dance floor. We sway in a neon light bath. Projected holograms alter our perception. Heavy bass cocoons us in sound. Lasers beam through the bodies, making everyone's bones glow from inside out. The whole place turns into a trippy X-ray. I look at Van and see a strange skeleton. His bones aren't hard calcium, but a weave of wires and cables. His skull is a plastic mold, and I can see the hardware divots where his jaw hinges. I look into his eyes and see high-definition scan lines. Those aren't pupils, they're computer screens. He's an android. No wonder the sex has been so good. He's been running a program. Am I really this easy? I thought what we had was real. I abandon Van on the dance floor and push my way out of the club like it's a walk of shame. I must look so desperate to everyone. How pathetic. Jade fumes swirl in the sepia haze of night. The streets are jammed. Sidewalks overflow with people. I'm an unnerved mess under my bioskin. I pass the 41st Street cafeteria and it's mobbed with eaters. I can smell the synth pork ribs being barbecued at Razzles, but it's not making my mouth water like usual. Tonight, it smells like burning batteries. I look inside at the line for Ecoceris, my favorite restaurant, but now I'm repulsed. Nothing makes sense anymore. The buzz of the crowd brings on a panic attack. I rush through the streets while the platform hangs overhead like it's about to topple over. I have flashbacks of the tsunami trash waves that ruin my boat as my life crashes down around me. At home, I cut a rail of tap and switch into N-side. Get me anywhere but here. Welcome back, Yosie. The tap isn't hitting yet, so I'm stuck with Dee Dee as she teleports me to my personalized feed. I'm assaulted with murder stories, houses on fire, hardcore pornography, and race cars. This twitchy music is horrible, but also the 5th most played on my account. Am I this much of a wreck? I leave inside and come back to my apartment. Why didn't the tap hit? Howell finally messages me. Come over tonight, is all it says. On my drive out to Del Rey, it dawns on me that he's going to have to get over his seasickness from here out. I get to Howell's compound, and he isn't answering the front door, so I head around back. Docked on the canal, I see a 90-footer with Omni boosters. There's a submarine, too. Looks like Hal found the right people to help us. I hear a dry wheeze coming from behind me. I turn around and see a hobbling, crippled, and bloody critter hacking for air. It staggers deliriously and croaks something barely resembling meow, then drops in a seizure fit. I get a good look at the mangy thing and see that it's Mo, dying a slow, asphyxiating death. Howell is going to kill whoever let it outside. As I head up the ramp to the house, there lays a man dead in the turf. I see the airlock into the house wide open. The whole cabin must be contaminated now. This is bad. I follow a trail of bloody paw prints backward into the house and find an aftermath of gunfire. Bullet holes are sprayed all over the walls, furniture is splintered, and blood is splattered. A stranger lays in a bed of broken glass, dead where he crashed through the table. I lean in to see him all shot to death and recoil over his bloody face. The paw prints begin, really, at Howell's dead body, hunched against the opposite wall. He's bled out from bullet holes, and his skin is totally transparent. I can see every vein under his face. He's terrifying. Those dead eyes look at me in a way Howell never has in his life. Like he's never seen me before. A gun weighs his hand down in a sticky pool of red, and I see Mo's paw prints all over Hal's bloody corpse. The animal had been cozying up to his master one last time. There's so much to say, but Howl is all I can get out. I tore the gore, stepping over more dead men up the stairs and 2 more in the hallway leading to Howl's bedroom. It's strange to me how nonchalant I walk past the bodies. I return to Howl, impressed with how many he killed before being gunned down himself. They underestimated you, bro. It's too big a catch, Yosie, Howl unexpectedly speaks. We'll just ruin it all over again. His words linger out. It makes no sense that my dead brother is speaking to me. But he's right. We're going to eat everything in that secret ocean until there's nothing left. Or until we blot the waters all over again. The ocean never died. It's just been hiding from us. Howl's words creak out from dead lips. But you're gonna lead us in, wheezes another voice. I turn to where it's coming from, seeing only the dead man's feet dangling out the center of Howl's shattered table. You know who we work for? The dead man slumped over at the kitchen walkway asks. They'll find you. They'll hurt you. I walk over while he chokes on his words, glass pieces crunching under my feet. I stare into his cloudy eyes as he gargles on blood. Hurt you so bad, you'll beg to show us. So there's more of you, I say, ignoring his threats. Bloody glass sprinkles off his arm as he points his finger at me. Another dead man speaks from his blood pool on Howl's rug. You'll beg to show us where the fish are. I go to Howl's body and whisper to him, I'm gonna find everyone who's responsible for what happened to you and kill them. I grab the gun out of Howl's cold hand and walk back to the dead man that's collapsed in glass. He's still ranting. I empty the gun into his face, and they all shut up. The blood I'm standing in seems only like the beginning of much worse. So right here, over my brother's dead body, I pledge to save the real world from my world. How could I sacrifice something so pure for our sake? That beauty must be preserved. What I need now are bombs. It takes a moment to remember the code into Howl's vault. But once inside, I browse explosives like they're groceries. I look up which ones are waterproof, like I'm at the library. Predator or prey glares back at me from the wall, and I wonder which one Howl was. With 2 sacks of sticky bricks and detonators, I head out to that souped-up boat at the dock. I ride off to demolish the gateway into the secret ocean and seal up the trench. It's the only way to make sure no predators ever find it. I've never been on a boat this nice. Its cargo space alone is the size of my apartment. It makes great time in the ocean, prancing over the gray waves like it's on springs. In the deluxe cockpit, I retrace the last time I ran this route. I see that it isn't just those living on the platform who fell for a mirage. We're all walking around in fake skins, sucking fake air, and eating fake food like it's the most natural thing in the world. I cross the Bahama ruins, and the dream begins to come true. All this plastic is going to make me rich after all. My navigation radar beeps quicken inside the cockpit as I throttle to a low wake. The boat clenches to a tender thrust against the slough as I draw closer to the coordinates. There's no storm hiding here, waiting to devour my ship. The sky is pale, winds are weak, and water stirs slowly. It's strange being here unthreatened. The calm is oddly unsatisfying. The beeps fire closer and closer in sequence until melding into one long, sustained ring. I drop anchor here. Whoever outfitted this boat knows quality. Even the submarine is choice. A depth diver with 360-degree gyroscope propulsion. The plan never involved taking one last trip down, but... The boat's mini crane is a breeze to control from inside the sub. I hoist myself out with one hand while slurping down a hydrofoam pouch. Kerplunk. In the depths, I reach where the seabed cracked open and point the sub straight down the monstrous black mouth. The jagged rocks surrounding the trench look like teeth. Because of the heavy scrap concentration in the water, I need to volley forward and reverse to keep the engines from clogging. As plush as this sub is, there's nothing to do about the temperature. I cross into a scalding boil like I've pierced a heat membrane and watch the junk in the water incinerate. My sub shakes and rattles from the pressure cooker I'm traveling through, and my cockpit gets so hot the glass steams up, so I have to rely solely on the computer to guide me down. I roast for miles, guzzling hydrofoam the whole way. The shake and rattle gives way to a heavenly float. Steam fades off the glass, revealing the extravagant nothingness all over again. It's more beautiful than I remembered. Into the stalactite cave I twist, and this time around, I see something I missed before. There are etchings in the limestone, stick drawings of people, horned things, wiggly snakes, and sun spheres. These pictures were made by human hands of those who had been here before, living in an ancient time when this wasn't all water. Though I'm not the first person to have been here, I will be the last. I emerge out of the cave into the secret ocean for one last dance. I behold the majesty of life playing out its natural course, experiencing their energy in free motion. And, as if waiting for me, the albino rises out of the depths. Its arrival feels like a coming, and I am swept away with intense reverence. Its slow, swollen shadow precedes a grand, glowing entrance. This is true immaculance. As it drifts, I don't see something that wastes time. I see it owning time itself. I don't see uselessness in its bulging mass. I see weight of meaning. Those eyes don't lack strength. They're full of peace. The albino floats before me no different than before, but I didn't understand what I was looking at then. Now, I see a deity. I've never been a believer, but this is God. Faith carries me out of the secret ocean and up the inferno one last time. I leave part of me down there forever, knowing who I must be from here on. Now, I'm floating in the Great Leak, standing in the cockpit of some fancy boat with a detonator switch in my hand. I've planted bombs around the seabed crack, and once I detonate them, the explosion of rock and gravel will collapse the trench from the inside, protecting the living ocean and sealing it off from this dead one. From out here, the sky is a spray painting.